Hello again, everybody. It is that time of week again. Time for me to do the weekly recap. Now, you might be wondering, why do these always come out on Thursday? And that's because in the past, we've had some johners in the league, genre alert, who would not play their games until Wednesday. But I guess this week there was no excuse besides my own laziness. So yeah, you're welcome. We shall maintain the Thursday upload date for the foreseeable future. But anyways, let's just get right into the standings. As we can see here, week 3 was a really important week. A lot of things have been shaken up, a lot of things have also stayed the same, so let's just take a look at continuing to be at the top of the leaderboard. Ray with his Shadow Zatus. Absolute dominating run so far into the season. We see the average win of 5-0, pretty crazy. But following it up, actually, Namu and the Polis are tied with the exact same record, 3-0 plus 15. And just one differential point behind them, we have Broken Motor and his single strikers. So we actually have 4 3-0 teams just chilling at the top, the 4-2-1 teams, the 4-1-2 teams, and the 4-0-3 teams. So looking at some of these teams, some interesting things have happened. We see Random actually pull off a very solid win against Banana Thief. Random, I wasn't sure how well he'd do, especially since he said that he hasn't played since Gen 5, but it seems like with the ghosting help of his roommate, come on, it's pretty obvious. It seems like he's been able to improve his play quite substantially. And looking down here, we have Boo and Blerg, both taking the L week 1, but also both keeping a sort of hot streak in the recent weeks, bouncing back and going 2-1. Blerg continuing to hug the bottom of the playoff bracket standings, clinching that number 8 seed. I can respect it. Sometimes that's all you need. You just get in the playoffs and you can win the whole thing. But on the other side of things, just outside of the playoff bracket, we have the 1-2s. I guess Adrian and Kyra both have had pretty tough schedules. Same for Sunny and Proj. And then we have the 0-3 guys. So at this point in the season, for the 0-3 guys, you guys kind of have to almost win out, because you could make it in playoffs at 4-4, but the odds are just not in your favor. So hopefully we'll see these guys rebound and really kick off their season. Never too late to start, in my opinion. But with that being said, let's take a look at the Pokemon standings actually. So, at the very top of the Pokemon standings, Zygarde 50 continues to reign supreme. Zygarde got another sweep. It was Namu versus Proj. That was actually a pretty good game until Zygarde just came in and did its thing, getting another 5 kills to put the Zygarde at 2 games played and 10 kills. And then we also have Hydreigon just trailing behind it with the 10-1. Hydreigon, played a pretty standard game of Scarf, just like revenge killing things. At least I think it was Scarf. But yeah, you know, pretty standard game. It just put on a lot of offensive pressure. Then we have the Kartana, of course, Ray's signature Pokemon at this point, putting in a lot of work. I believe it was Adrian he played. Yeah, like absolutely dismantling that team. Very solid Pokemon, coached by a very solid player. Then we have our Shifu single from Broken Motor. This was kind of a free farm for Urshifu single, as Broken Motor played Sam, and Sam kind of proving to be the league's punching bag, just taking all those hits and giving some Pokemon a lot of kills. Sorry, Sam, but I think it's about time that you stepped it up, you know. But yeah, with that being said, I mean the rest of these rankings look fairly standard. You know, there's a lot of threats on here. You would expect a lot of these Pokemon to be high on the kill leaderboard. But yeah. Oh yeah. Before we get into the game of the week, you know, last time I still had some people complaining about me showing my stuff. You know, some people, man, they just have that audacity to never be satisfied, no matter what you do. So yeah, you know, screw you. There will be no more of that going forward. But let us get right into the game of the week. You already see it on the screen. You already know who's playing. It is Sid once again, third week in a row, being featured for Game of the Week. So yeah, this is a pretty cool matchup. I can just go ahead and pull up the tab over here. So here's the matchup, right? The Volcaronas versus the Yveltal Imposters. Taking a look over here, Weavile absolutely like destroys this team. If it can get a single sword stance up, everything dies. Then again, there's not a lot that it can sword stance on. Maybe the Zapdos if it's really defensive, maybe the Decidueye. But yeah, Weavile, even without a sword stance up, would be very, very threatening to this team. And we have Gliscor. Gliscor is a really good check to the Mega Diancie. Yeah, just being able to run especially defensive and with Roost can tank some Moonblasts and fire off Earthquakes in revenge. Can also get up spikes on this team. That would be pretty good for stuff like the Mew and the Empoleon. And then, yeah, I mean, it could also run like a Sword Stance set too, like SD Facade, Earthquake, Roost. It's kind of all you need. There's also the Volcarona, which, I don't know. I don't think this is Volcarona's best matchup, but it can do a bit with like the standard Quiver Dance set. It'd probably have to be 3 attacks though, yeah, because you want you know, Bug Buzz, Fire Stab, and Giga Drain. And then there is the Rillaboom. So the Rillaboom actually looks like super good here. If I'm being honest, it's probably always forcing in Zapdos, but that means it just gets a knock on that. So if Kyra is then able to get up rocks, that would be very, very good for wearing down the Zapdos. Yeah, I mean, I feel like those top 4 are definitely sensible brings. Let's see what she actually brought. So there is the top 4, and also the Hawlucha and Togedemaru. Yeah, Hawlucha makes sense. I mean, yeah, I guess it could clean, provided that you get the damage on Mew and Zapdos, and it's able to set up a free sword stance. She does bench the Mega Venusaur, which I feel like Mega Venusaur is actually pretty good here. Like, you can just throw off Sludge Bombs into anything besides Empoleon and like fish for poisons. That's always nice. but I also get why she might not want to bring it. And then she brings the Togedemaru. Please stop bringing this garbage Pokemon, and when you do bring it, please stop using that garbage set. You know which one I'm talking about. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this Pokemon. Like, okay, to be fair, I guess it is her only Empoleon switch-in, and I guess it can come in on Zapdos, like, once. That's just bad, man. You could have brought, like... Okay, let's see what did she bring. Okay, so you brought Rillaboom to knock off the Zapdos, and you don't even have rocks on your team. You could have brought Diancie in this slot. I mean... Yeah, I don't know, man. it's just not a good Pokemon. But looking at Sid's team, his team looks like pretty standard, plus Wobbuffet. You know, Mew, Diancie, always good brings. Diancie actually has a kind of tougher matchup here, being walled by the Gliscor and Slowking potentially, as well as being able to be KO'd by like Steel Coverage Weavile, +1 Volcarona, Rillaboom, etc. But yeah, I guess it's still fair game to be brought. The Empoleon, I guess that's like one of his defensive guys, Zapdos being the other defensive guy. I mean, yeah, Sid could run offensive Zapdos, but also look at this team, right? Hawlucha Zapdos is the best defensive answer on his team. Rillaboom, also the best defensive answer. Actually, it's the only answer to Rillaboom on his team. So, yeah, definitely looks like a matchup where Zapdos is kind of forced to run defensive. Sid does end up benching the Diggersby, which I guess against Gliscor you kind of don't want to bring that. Against Mega Venusaur, maybe not. Especially not against Terrain. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. The Decidueye kind of gives a lot of Kyra's Pokemon free setup, so yeah, I can see why that's benched. The Persian probably doesn't do much. Quillfish could get up spikes, which, you know, could be pretty good, but also a lot of Kyra's threats will be either boots, you know, Weavile, Volcarona, or like flying above the spikes. So yeah, that's fair. The Mienshao is probably Scarf to deal with +1 Volcarona. And the Wobbuffet, well, we'll just see what the Wobbuffet does. So, yeah, with all that being said, let's just play the match and see what happens. So, we see the Mienshao lead into Rillaboom. So, the Mienshao is probably wanting to click U-turn on whatever Kyra leads with. However, the Rillaboom being in means that Sid has to hard switch out, because even if this is Scarf, even if this is banned, whatever, the Rillaboom's Grassy Glide will outspeed and kill this thing. So, you know, as I said before, his one defensive answer is Zapdos, and if Kyra wants to capitalize on that, she will know to click something like Knockoff here, and we'll see if that comes out. That is exactly what comes out, and actually, she gets Static Parrot, so that is pretty huge. That Rillaboom will now be slower than, you know, Zapdos, Mew, if it wasn't already before. But yeah, definitely now slower. As we see the Gliscor come out into the Zapdos, makes sense as there's no HP Ice. Zapdos U-turns out into Wobbuffet. So, I'm not really sure what the plan is here. I guess Sid can counter this. But like this Gliscor could always be carrying U-turn, so it might not be trapped. But if it is trapped, then that could be huge. As we see the SD come out, no U-turn, so and Sid gets the Encore play correct. No U-turn. I'm not sure if she has it or if she just like sword stanced, not wanting to get countered. And Sid goes into the Mew. So, you know, Mew, always a funny Pokemon. Kyra should be scared out by the Ice Beam here. If Sid is a setup Mew, he could go for setup. If he is a hazards Mew, he could go for hazards. As next turn, if he does have Ice Beam, right, he could just do it next turn. We see the Flame Orb though. Very interesting. That is definitely not supposed to trigger Synchronize. I guess he doesn't want to get Toxic. That's like the only explanation I have. Okay, so he uses Iron Defense. He is definitely not trying to get Toxic. This is some sort of setup Mew with, I guess, Calm Mind, right? Yeah. So this is a Calm Mind stored power, and he doesn't want to get Toxic. I think it's very interesting that he tries to set up this early, especially in front of Volcarona. Like, man, I don't know, man. Like, the Weavile is still in the back, so if this is mono stored powered, you are going to have to PP stall that Weavile. And if it's not, even if it's not, this Volcarona could, you know, send you packing. I don't know why you're risking your win con so early on. I'm not sure if I agree with this. So yeah, the Volcarona does Quiver Dance up. And yeah, there's the Bug Buzz. Does he rest? Does he, I don't know, Power Gem? He just Calm Minds again, so yeah, he kind of threw his Mew away. I guess Sid was hard reading the bulky Volcarona with Quiver Dance 2 attacks Roost rather than the 3 attacks variant, and he was banking on, you know, Bug Buzz not being one of those attacks. But I mean, the Bug Buzz hits the Mew and the Wobbuffet. Yeah, I guess hitting Mew is pretty important. I don't know why you would risk that so early on. But in comes the Mienshao. Yeah, as revealed, it is Scarf, so the Rock Slide should be able to stop the sweep here. But it actually doesn't kill. What the heck? The Rock Slide does not kill the Volcarona? What is going on, dude? Okay, yeah, I guess now Sid is kind of in trouble. There's a +1 Volcarona facing his team. So the Volcarona just flamethrowers the Empoleon. Does it not have Roost? Okay, and he reveals Rock Tomb. So even if it was Roost, the Volcarona was probably getting beaten there. But yeah, Kyra just, I guess, sacks the Volcarona, realized it did its job, you know, got rid of Sid's, I guess, like, you know, main threat in Mew, the Mienshao, and gotten good chip on the Empoleon. She can now go Gliscor and, I guess, just like throw off an Earthquake. But the Wobbuffet does come out again. So yeah, I guess she really is not U-turn, because if she was, she definitely would have clicked it. Clicking Sword Stance just gets you encored into it, which he can then take advantage of. So he does go Empoleon. Now this Empoleon has to be Ice Beam, because if it's not Ice Beam, it's not killing this Gliscor, and then he's kind of in trouble, because the Gliscor can, you know, shake off the Encore, just Earthquake everybody. I guess Kyra does scout for the Ice Beam, and it is Ice Beam. She goes into Rillaboom. Now this play I don't really agree with. I mean, yeah, you're going from one Ice Week into another Ice Week, and you do have the Togedemaru, like I said, is, you know, useless except for this one very situation, right? It's there to presumably switch into Empoleon. Why is it not switching into Empoleon? But anyways, the Rillaboom does come in, and it can now U-turn or knock, but instead just gets fully paralyzed. Gliscor is always free on the Zapdos though, but the Wobbuffet does come back in from the U-turn momentum. And this time she actually chooses to Earthquake. That is going to be a big mistake. That is going to be a big mistake, as the counter doing 44. But this turn the Grassy is gone. So the Earthquake is going to do double damage, and that is the Gliscor gone. So now Kyra no longer has a defensive answer to the Diancie. She can only revenge it with a Rillaboom. And the Rillaboom does come out, and it does just finish off that Wobbuffet. Now Hawlucha comes out. I'm not sure if I agree with Hawlucha coming out this early. Because the Zapdos is still basically at full health. Like, if you can chip that and then Espeon and Empoleon, then I think you win the game. But maybe Kyra's thinking there's like no way to force that scenario to happen, so she'd just be fine forcing damage on the Zapdos, which I can respect, because with damage on the Zapdos, the Weavile can OHKO it, assuming it's not banned, and also it'll make Rillaboom's job easier. But yeah, the Hawlucha does come out, and obviously Sid has to go Zapdos. This Hawlucha is forced to attack this, and the Zapdos is forced to attack back. You can't really pull off any SD shenanigans there, because Sid will not allow you to. But yeah, so she does get the Stone Edge chip on the Zapdos, which allows the Weavile to come in and pick up a kill. So Empoleon comes out on the Crash, as, okay, now she goes Togedemaru, and this is what I mean, man. Why are you Nuzzle? Like, come on. If that was Zing Zap, that Zapdos would have been 2-hit KO'd. Why are you this stupid Nuzzle set? Like, okay, yeah, and then now you Spiky Shield, which really does not make sense to me. Sid should have always roosted there. So yeah, I guess a double misplay, but it works out because Togedemaru is useless. And yeah, so she can just U-turn right back into the Weavile, which does SD up, and we do not see low kick come out here. So if this was low kick, it would not have won the game, but it would have forced in Diancie, and then yeah, I guess it would be the same scenario. But yeah, so knockoff does come out, and then the Rock Tomb. This means that Diancie is faster, it can come in after and kill it. But the Empoleon does go down, and yeah, now this is just a free Moonblast for the Diancie. Moonblast into Earth Power will kill off this Pokemon, and then Kyra has to go Rillaboom. There is no other play here. So this is the two Pokemon showdown. You all have already seen the thumbnail. You know, you like that? We got two Pokemon on there now, and this is the reason. Is this very end game? So, let me tell you about this endgame. On Sid's side of the field, we have the Zapdos and the Diancie. On Kyra's side, we have the Weavile and the Rillaboom. The Weavile can beat the Zapdos, provided that it's at low enough health, but it will not be able to kill the Diancie unless it has steel coverage. And the Diancie will obviously be able to kill it back. The Rillaboom is walled by the Zapdos, but it is necessary to Grassy Glide this Diancie. And yeah, actually I guess we don't know if this Weavile is steel coverage, so if it is, then all Kyra needs to do is get chip on the Zapdos, and then it will win. But I would say it's likely that it's not steel coverage. Ice Shard is pretty valuable, especially on a Swords Dance set. For the Scarfers in the back, or like any setup that Sid might bring. So yeah, I'm just going to go off of that assumption. And on this turn, Sid does go into Zapdos on the Rillaboom because the Grassy Glide is very obvious. And now at this point, we have the Zapdos in range of the Weavile, and the Rillaboom, which has not revealed a 4th move. The fact that it has not revealed a 4th move is actually very, very pivotal here, because the Zapdos kind of has like 3 plays, right? You could U-turn out into Diancie on the predicted Weavile switch. You could Heat Wave on the predicted stay in into like Grass move or High Horsepower, or you could Roost on the predicted not Grass move and not High Horsepower. Basically the situation is like this, right? Sid does not know what the last move is. So if the last move is Wood Hammer and he U-turns out into Diancie on the Wood Hammer, then he loses. Because if it's just Grassy Glide, it doesn't matter if he U-turns. If it's just Grassy Glide, then Kyra can Grassy Glide here, it will go first, and then he gets the slow U-turn off into Diancie, at which point he can go back into Zapdos. However, if it is Wood Hammer, then that really punishes the U-turn or Roost play. Because, if he Roosts, obviously he loses the flying typing. Wood Hammer is going to do a billion. That's not great. If he U-turns and Kyra predicts the U-turn, then the Wood Hammer will obliterate the Diancie. But let's think about why Sid might want to U-turn in the first place, right? I guess like the only situation in which that benefits is if Kyra also clicks U-turn, right? Because if Zapdos U-turns out into the Diancie and then Kyra clicks U-turn, then all of a sudden it's Diancie versus Weavile, which means, Weavile cannot kill the Diancie, and the Diancie can Moonblast. Moonblast should, either pick off the Rillaboom or leave it at super low health. So that is a super favorable position for Sid. But on the other hand, if Sid just Heat Waves here, and the Rillaboom clicks U-turn, then Kyra gets momentum into Weavile, and Weavile can OHKO the Zapdos, and it can 2-shot the Diancie. So in that case, no matter what, it's a losing scenario for Sid, because let's say he stays in, the Zapdos dies, Rillaboom wins. Let's say he switches out, the Diancie gets 2-shot, and then Zapdos dies. So in Sid's eyes, this is a 50-50. He could either U-turn, predicting the Rillaboom's U-turn, or he could Heat Wave, predicting the 4th move being High Horsepower or Wood Hammer. So let's see what happens here. He Heat Wave misses into full para. Great. I talk that turn up so much and nothing happens. Okay, so let's see what happens. Now he Heat Waves again. So Kyra, maybe he was playing some mind games there. Maybe he could have U-turned that turn, but Kyra should know that, okay, he has the possibility to Heat Wave. I can U-turn out into the Weavile and win the game. But it reveals to be 4th move Taunt. Now, no offense to Kyra or anything, I still think that you're a great player, and this happens to all of us, but honestly, this was the absolute choke of the league. Revealing the 4th move taunt. I really don't know what that was supposed to do, right? Because taunting the Zapdos does nothing. It's going to outspeed you and kill you. Taunting the Diancie would just bounce back the taunt onto the Rillaboom. If you really wanted to stay in and do nothing there, you could have at least clicked like Grassy Glide, you know? And if you did end up clicking U-turn instead that game, then, you know, the game was pretty much won. The game was pretty much won there. But yeah, the 4th move taunt, clicking taunt on turn 34, really, I did not get it, but you know, it happens. It happens to me all the time. In the heat of the game, you just make some sort of desperation play. Yeah, I guess in the future it would be more helpful to think this scenario out. But yeah, at this point, the Zapdos can just finish off the Rillaboom with U-turn, and this should be the game. Now is the moment of truth. Does the Weavile have a Steel move? And it does not. And the Icicle Crash does not get the flinch either. So that will be the game. But now, this is actually where things get even more interesting. You see over here, I've already pulled up the damage calculator. So, from what Sid's told me, and from the Hawlucha damage, we can deduce this Zapdos is max physical defense. Now, if it's max physical defense, how much does it actually take, assuming the Rillaboom is last move Wood Hammer? That is exactly what I have pulled up right here. So the Wood Hammer would only do, you know, 60-ish% max. So he was actually free to click Roost there and, you know, stall out the grassy terrain. So if he actually did click Roost there, then the Wood Hammer would not have done much, and it also would have required Kyra to get that play right multiple times in a row, you know. At the most, you're only getting about 10% chip on the Zapdos every single time, so you have to get the Roost play right. You know, is he clicking Roost? Is he clicking Heat Wave? Should I click Wood Hammer? Should I click U-turn? You have to get that play right multiple times in a row. So Sid actually did also choke by not clicking Roost, and yeah, so in this situation, right, what I thought it was that Sid would see it as a 50-50, and Kyra, knowing that her 4th move is Taunt, would have to hope that Sid takes the wrong side of the 50-50 and clicks Heat Wave. So that is actually exactly what he did, and had she clicked U-turn capitalizing on that, then she would have won the game, but it also could have been completely avoided had Sid clicked Roost. Now, yeah, I mean, we are not a high-level league, right? We're just kind of like a group of friends, but it's always interesting to see, you know, how these games can be played better, and what the games could have turned out to be had people not, you know, so-called choked. But that will do it for the game of the week. Hope you all enjoyed, and now we are actually going to take a look at next week. So I said that week 3 was huge, and it was huge, but week 4 is going to be even more huge. Week 4 is going to be absolutely the pivotal moment in this draft league, where the victors will be decided and where the losers will be cast out. You can see in the matchups, we got some very hype ones going on here. So, Kyra versus Simon. At this point, these are, you know, two strong coaches in their own right. who have found themselves having not so great seasons. This will be the week where they can, you know, either turn everything around or, you know, have to continue suffering that losing streak. So it should be a great game to watch. Then we have Boo versus Proj, two very hyper offense type teams. You know, it should be a fast one. At least I don't think there will be any stall going on. Ray versus Namu. This one is definitely the highlight match of the week. I mean, look at this. They are both tied for first after week 3, and going into week 4, they are playing each other. We could not get a more perfect story than this. So, yeah, not only that, right? Not only do we have the number ones facing off against each other, we also have Broken Motor against Wise Guy. The battle of the 3 O's. Going into week 5, there will only be 2 perfect teams left. And that is absolutely insane. You know, yeah, just talking about this matchup over here. In the post-draft power rankings, I rank these guys number 1 and number 2. I thought they had by far the best drafts of the entire league, and you know, I know both of these guys are also 2 of our strongest players. So this matchup, definitely super hype. Coming this far, they both have proved to me that my predictions were, you know, kind of correct. Not to brag or anything, but yeah, both have gone 3-0, and they are now facing each other. So Ray, Namu, Broken Motor, and Christian, you guys better not give us shitty games. We have very high expectations. But yeah, no pressure or anything. And looking at the other matchups, we have Sid versus Adrian. Adrian has had a, you know, middling season, I would say. I think he definitely has improved quite a bit as a battler. So it would be interesting to see him versus Sid. I guess it's possible that Sid gets the game of the week a 4th week in a row, but I'm really not sure. With all the hype matches going on this week, maybe he finally won't get it. Then looking at the other ones, Random versus Crimson Flash. Crimson Flash has had a very tough time. You know, he's played a lot of the top players, yeah, I mean, I won't lie, I was not too impressed with his performance last week, but I feel like he does know the basics of the game, right? And he just needs to polish his play, polish his prep, and maybe he can turn his season around. On the other hand, we have Random, who is, you know, really up and coming. He is really hot right now. Coming off fresh from a win on Banana Thief, and getting ghosted by his roommate, obviously. Yeah, I feel like he will have a very dominating rest of his season. And then there is Banana Thief versus Sam, both coming off of losses, but Sam obviously having a much longer loss streak. And then last but not least, Sunny versus Jesus. Should be very, very cool games to see overall. Yeah, I guess I have said... Wait, I realized I forgot something. I forgot to go over the transactions. So, yes, this late into the season, and we're still having people make transactions. The first one, pretty controversial one, I would say. Random Arshaw, he has dropped his Deoxys speed. That is, look at the draft board, man. It is the 19-pointer. It is like the keystone of your team, you know, your first pickup, and he just dropped it. I will not blame him though. Deoxys speed, kind of poo-poo Pokemon. I used it in a mock and it sucked, and it seems like in all of Random's games it has also you know, not done anything. So yeah, very fair for him to drop it. It's just like a little, like, I don't know, dropping Tom Brady or something. It seems super weird. But he did end up picking the Latias, which, you know, I think it's a fair pickup. Latias does patch maybe a couple holes in his team. But I will say that I do think there are bigger problems with his team. And the match against Broken Motor in week 2, for example, like really highlighted those weaknesses. If you're not getting any hints from that, Random. Yeah, there's definitely some more problems with his team, but Latias, you know, solved some of them, and hopefully we'll see the rest of the 5 points being used to solve the rest of them. I don't know, man. Like, this team still looks really weird to me. Like, these are all Pokemon that I would use and I like using. Tornti, Victini, Garchomp, Vikavolt. This is like super my type of team, but it just like looks weird. But yeah, moving on. Was that our only FA? No, Ray also did. Ray also did some FAs. So he actually dropped Keldeo and Ninjask for Shaman and Tauros. I'm not sure if I agree with this one, because Keldeo gives your team some pretty good breaking power, I would say. I mean, I guess you still have your water, you still have your fighting. They're just, you know, not as offensive. But yeah, like, given the type of player that Ray is, I guess it makes sense for him to have something like Shaman, where, you know, Shaman gets Recover now. Can you believe it? That's pretty huge. Yeah, it has Recover now. It can come in on those water attacks that he was so scared of before. You know, Kartana does not have to be his defensive grass type anymore, so that's always a relief. And then there's Tauros. Now, Tauros is not even the best Pokemon in 5 points. But it is a pretty good Pokemon, you know. It has a very solid 110 speed tier, kind of replacing the 108 that Keldeo had. I don't know how many times Tauros will get brought, but should be interesting to see. Yeah, I guess that's finally all I have to say for this week. Definitely been a doozy of a week, a lot of great games going on, and next week will be even more hype. So, I will see you then. Goodbye.